Hello, everyone. Today is April 30th, 2024. It's a special day to me. I'm in a bit of a sober mood thinking about it. 29 years ago today, I was in Berlin, and I want to tell you about that. I made a trip to Berlin to be there on this day. And 79 years ago on this day, 80 years next year, 1945, Adolf Hitler took his life in the bunker near the Reichstag building in Berlin. So let me share my screen and tell you about the personal connection that I began to develop with this day. This is my blog, jamestabor.com. And the reason I want to read it is I want you to hear my voice as I read it. And I might add a few comments along the way. 79 years ago today, April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler and his newly wedded wife of one day, Eva Braun, took their lives in his Berlin bunker. She by cyanide, he with a self-inflicted pistol shot to the head. In April 1995, I read an article in Der Spiegel, Germany's premium national news magazine, with a cover story on the bunker, its various rooms and contents, as well as a map of Berlin showing its precise location under a modern parking lot. I decided right after reading that story that I was going to fly to Berlin to be present on that day, April 30th, on the 50th anniversary of Hitler's death. There is no official recognition of the site or the date. It was my singular and personal decision. I wanted to stand in that parking lot and read out loud the following text from Isaiah 14, an ancient taunt of celebration against the king of Babylon. I'll read the passage. This is the Revised Standard Version with slight modifications. How are you fallen from heaven, O day star, son of the morning? How are you cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low? You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. Above the stars of God, I'll set my throne on high. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to Sheol, to the depths of the pit. Those who see you will stare at you and ponder over you. Is this the man who made the earth tremble, who shook kingdoms, who made the world like a desert and overthrew its cities, who did not let his prisoners go home? All the kings of the nations lie in glory, each in his own tomb, but you are cast out away from your sepulchre like a loathed, untimely birth, clothed with the slain, those pierced by the sword, who go down to the stones of the pit, like a dead body trodden underfoot. You will not be joined with them in burial, because you've destroyed your land, you have slain your people. Now, obviously, the historical context is ancient Babylon, and fundamentalist Christians for centuries have understood this to be a passage also about Satan, the devil, Lucifer, as he was called in the King James Version. But it's pretty clear in the text and knowing the language of the Hebrew prophets that it is actually addressing an ancient Babylonian king, a human being who in his own mind wanted to be Lord of Lords and King of Kings, as did Adolf Hitler. Some of you might not know, but Hitler's dream was for Rommel to come up from the south in Egypt and for northern forces from Macedonia to come down through Lebanon into the Holy Land and to actually fly to Jerusalem and stand on the Mount of Olives and declare himself Lord of Lords and King of Kings. If any of you have ever been to the Mount of Olives and looked over the old city of Jerusalem, you'll know what a stunning sight that is even to this day. And for Hitler to be in Jerusalem was one of his dearest dreams. But as we know from World War II, Rommel was defeated by Montgomery, the British general, at the Battle of El Alamein, an amazing story to read. And Hitler's grabbing of the Middle East and its oil was actually brought to a halt. And that was one of a set of events that led to his defeat. I'll keep reading. I booked a flight from Charlotte and flew over. Fortunately, my dearest lifelong friend, now passed all too early, James Olaf Ribb, was living in Berlin as a student. So he joined me in my determined task. I think he thought I was a little crazy, but we're really good friends. And I said, I just want to go to the parking lot and I want to read that text. This is a memorial tribute. You can click it and read about my friend Olaf. This is worth reading on its own. And there's a picture of him. He was a Latin scholar, a classical scholar. This is taken back in the 1970s. And here's a book he wrote and never published, and you can read that. It's a PDF. I'd love for any of you to read it. It's a wonderful work of thoughts, quotations, and observations about what? Life and the human experience. Um, truly, Olaf was an amazing human being. So you can read about him. Let me go back to my text. We found the spot based on the maps published in Der Spiegel, and I carried out my grim task. We spoke few words on that cloudy morning, and Olaf snapped this photo of me. No one was around, just the parked cars you see. I found the words ominous as this modern Babylonian conqueror once again imagined that he could ascend to heights never dreamed of with his Third Reich to last 1,000 years. So here's the picture Olaf took of me. I've got my small little Bible in my pocket that I carried to read. And I'll never forget that day, 29 years ago today. Other than visiting my friend Olaf, that act was my sole purpose in making this international trip. I stayed a few days in Berlin, and we traveled into Sweden, Denmark, and Holland, where most appropriately, we went to the house in Amsterdam where Anne Frank spent her last days. That was 29 years ago today. I've always found April 30th to have an ominous feel to it. I made this small image of the New York Times front page from May 1st, 1945, and I carry it now in my personal Bible between the pages of Isaiah 14. And here you can see the headline, Hitler Dead in Chancery. In 206, an information panel was put up at the site, and many tourists visit the spot today, not to mention modern Nazi sympathizers still seeking to stir hatred of the Jewish people. It is 200 meters from the new Holocaust Memorial designed by Peter Eisenman, brother of my friend Robert Eisenman, the Dead Sea Scrolls scholar whose work many of my readers have read. You can read all about it in this article from Der Spiegel. And if you've not seen the film, Der Untergang, I highly recommend it. So that's the post. And that's the video I want to put up today. A personal reflection on April 30th, 1945, 1995, and now today, 2024. If you do go to Berlin, I hope you will visit this spot. You'll be able to find it. It's right near the Reichstag building. And as I said, 200 meters from this amazing Holocaust Memorial. So take care, everyone. Sharing these sober thoughts on a late afternoon. And if you do look up that passage in the Bible, read the opening of the passage as well. Look at Isaiah 14, beginning in verse 1. It's also very interesting. I'll see you next time. Hello, everyone. I finished the recording and I downloaded it. And then I said to myself, I want to add a postscript because something just hit me. I want to go back to Berlin next April 30th. And I'm just wondering if some of you folks might want to go with me. We could work in some sort of tour of Europe or something that would be relevant to the Roman world as well. But I want to time it on April 30th. And that will be the 80th anniversary of Hitler's death. And it might be interesting to go on that day. Now, because there's a marker there and because it's the 80th, who knows? There could be a crowd. But by and large, the German government has kind of kept things low because of neo-Nazi kinds of ideologies, and they don't want to bring too much attention to that spot. But there is a marker now. So if you go to Berlin in the next year, or even any time in the future, you'll be able to find it. But I'm really thinking, I haven't even thought past saying it right now. I want to go there on the 80th. And who knows? Maybe it'll develop into something meaningful. So, goodbye again. Catch you later.